welcome back to the program. My guest today is the president of one of the world's most recognizable and successful franchises for comedy, National Lampoons. He has produced and created over 150 different documentaries, miniseries, and TV programs. He is also an Emmy and Peabody Award winner, and he's also a professor at NYU for student film and production. Please welcome my guest, Evan Shapiro, to the program. Evan, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm glad you pronounced my name correctly. That's odd.
Well, some people do pronounce it a different way, but
They do. They're wrong.
I did it the way that you wanted it done. So there you go. But hey, let's start with this. Congratulations. This is fantastic. I mean, did you ever think that this franchise would be here 50 years later? What a milestone in comedy. It is truly a world-renowned brand. And my first question to you is, what made you want to work with this brand, and how excited are you to do so?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a lot of people who perhaps doubted that National Lampoon would last as long as it has, including the people who founded it 50 years ago this past spring. It was a no-brainer to join the company. The idea that I would get to help rebrand, or actually I like to say reanimate National Lampoon. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I've worked in comedy for some time, and this was just really, something I couldn't pass up.
Gotcha. Yes, I mean, look, hey, if anyone didn't laugh at Animal House and, the Christmas Vacations and, the Van Wilders, then, they just don't have a funny bone. I mean, clearly some of the funniest movies and series that have ever been produced.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that a lot of that talent and a lot of the talent we know from elsewhere in the comedy universe originated at National Lampoon in the magazine, which is actually how I first came to know it. And then the Radio Hour, which turned into, I think, 10 albums, actually, 10 different albums. So that's John Belushi, Gilda Radner, Bill Murray, Chevy Chase, Christopher Guest, Richard Belzer, Paul Schaefer, Harold Ramis, all got their start doing this weird comedy sketch show called the National Lampoon Radio Hour in 1973, 74. Then they did an off-Broadway show called Lemmings and a couple of other live shows, and then 10 albums. And, that whole crew was basically stolen from National Lampoon and turned into Saturday Night Live. And then they were all appeared in the movies that National Lampoon is probably best known for. So there's this huge footprint and legacy that National Lampoon has that I think a lot of people my age know, and maybe a little older, but that a lot of people out there now who know the work of those people. And then, frankly, a lot of the inspiration that was born out of some of the stuff that came later had no idea about. Like Christopher Guest did these unbelievable songs on Goodbye Pop, which was an album that we're re-releasing on August 17th. I think it was a great inspiration for both Spinal Tap and Mighty Wind and a lot of the other stuff he went on to do as well.
Yeah, it truly is an incredible brand. And of course, it did, create or help create, one of the greatest, longest standing television shows in comedy history in Saturday Night Live, which is still going strong today. Let me ask you this. What did you learn about National Lampoons after joining them that maybe you didn't learn or didn't know in the past?
Yeah, I mean, I think it wasn't until I joined that I really understood what happened after Doug Kenny died, and what happened to the brand and what happened to the company. It went through some really strange and weird years. Then you come in many years after that, and you understand that I think what was lost after Doug died and the band broke up, so to speak, was the twisted mainstream sense of humor that Lampoon helped create. It was really, America's version of Monty Python or any of those Moore and Cook and More, and we had our own unique brand of it here that then, as you just said, went on to be performed in Saturday Night Live. So what I really learned was what was the thing that made Lampoon Lampoon? What was the thing that made National Lampoon content successful? Because I had to figure out why it was still relevant today. And it was that twisted mainstream sensibility. What National Lampoon did is they lampooned. They held a funhouse mirror up to America's most precious taboos. In Vacation, it's the family vacation. So this is a family comedy about dad looking to get laid and killing the old lady and killing the dog. You know, we had to pick up that mantle from where they left off, and you know, do it in today's voices, which is, you know, not hard when you realize who the parallel talent is today to the Dougs and the Henrys and the Harold Ramises and that crew. But you have to give them the same freedom that that group had then.
You know, that brings me to this next question. You know, obviously there's been many iconic movies, as you've just mentioned, as far as Animal House, the Vacation series, the Van Wilders. Many of these were not only absolutely hysterically funny, but in a lot of cases, they were also politically incorrect in some of the things that they did and some of the things that they said. So my question to you is, in today's culture of you know, wokeness and cancel culture and hypersensitivity, what types of things that you think you're going to run into as challenges to be able to resurrect that twisted notion of the old style of comedy? Do you think you're going to meet challenges, or you think you're going to have issues with cancellations and whatnot?
Sure. That's a great question. And in the first part, especially when you listen to all the albums, so we remastered and put out really great quality versions of all the albums from back in the day, the 10 albums, and on a lot of the episodes of Radio Hour. And a lot of it was politically incorrect. But back then, in context of its time, it was politically incorrect in a, for then, very woke way. So Gilda Radner does this song called I Am Woman, where she's singing this anthem for women, and then she's derided for being a woman by Bill Murray and Christopher Guest and a whole and Harold Ramis. And you know, there's a ton of John Belushi does this great bit called Flash Basbo as a stand-up comedian, and it's incredibly politically incorrect. But back then, given the spectrum of comedy of where it was at, it was substantially more woke and aware than you know, the rest of the world was. You flash forward, and what you do is you go to today's comedians and geniuses who have that insight. So best example I can give you is we did a brand new version of National Lampoon Radio Hour as a podcast, which is available everywhere you get podcasts right now. And we hired an amazing group of people. One of them is this unbelievable young performer and writer named Rachel Pegram. And she does this sketch. It's a spoof of a dating show called Anyone But a Black Woman. And the two contestants, it's based on the fact that on Hello Cupid and these dating sites, the lowest demographic for matches are black women. And so she creates this spoof of a dating show where two white bachelors have a choice between a black professional attorney, female, and a corpse. And they choose the corpse. Now, if I wrote that sketch, that would not go over so well. But because Rachel is this genius comedian with her finger on the pulse of what's going on in the culture right now, and she happens to also be a brilliant young African-American woman, she can not only get away with that, but she can write that and have it be an amazing statement about where the culture is at. So honestly, I get this question a lot, like, how do you do comedy today in today's cancel culture and wokeness? The answer is understand what's going on, understand the context of what's going on. And then the second answer is be good. Like, it's what passed as comedy from a bunch of, you know, doughy white guys standing up on a stage doing bad jokes with mics through the day is no longer good enough. Today, you can be edgy and you can take on the tropes and the things that America holds precious and dear, like The Bachelorette or the Super Bowl, which we do in the Radio Hour, but you have to write good comedy. The level of expectation of the audience is so much higher now, 50 years later, than it was back then.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, for a younger generation, I call them screenagers. I mean, you know, they're constantly in front of some type of a screen.
That's a good one. I like that.
You like that one? And, you know, my kid, you know, does the same thing. All these kids do, and their attention span is that of a flea, unfortunately. And so that is another challenge that, of course, you may have to meet head on, because, again, you do have to capture them and you have to keep them wanting to watch a 2-hour movie. I try to get my kid to watch a 2-hour movie. And he's like, no, Dad, I don't want to do it. I can handle 30 minutes. So I
Well,
agree
yeah, I
with you,
mean,
though,
I
on the
totally
woke
get that. I totally
culture.
get that. And look, the TikToking of America and the world is a hard thing to keep up with. But one of the biggest TikTokers now is a 30-plus-year-old woman who does really cool impersonations, lip syncs of the president, Sarah Cooper. So you don't have to necessarily dumb down your content in order to speak to this generation. And I would argue your son or your kids and kids that age. Look, Game of Thrones did very well with that generation.
Yeah.
And Fortnite, that generation spends hours upon hours on Minecraft and Fortnite. So I hear what you're saying. I think all of our attention span has been, really truncated because we have all these competing screens going on right now. And especially during the pandemic, we're on screens all the time. Again, I think what's really important is, what passed for quality in the 1970s and 80s with regards to television shows and video games in the 70s were Pong. Boop, boop,
Yeah.
boop. Now it's
Yeah,
this
exactly.
complex 100 hours of storytelling. The challenge is you have to be so good to attract the attention for someone that age or any age right now for any length of time. It's harder to be good than it used to be. And I know that sounds weird when there's so much garbage out there, but at the same time, there's no excuse to be watching anything bad right now because no matter what you like, it's on a screen somewhere.
Right. And this seems to be the interactive generation in which they want not just to stand there and be entertained or watch something, they want to actually, interact with it. Is National Lampoon's going to be doing any type of interaction as far as interactive types of
That's
projects?
a great question. We do a lot. Back when there was live, we do a lot of live shows. So we did a National Lampoon live. We worked on a live show called Roast of Your Teenage Self. We just turned that into a podcast, which launched a couple of weeks ago. And so we love the interactiveness of live. That's unfortunately something that's on hold right now for everybody. I think our social media is probably our most interactive platform right now. We just launched a new show on Sunday called The Bright Side, where this great comedian looks at the brighter side of very dark things. The first episode is about getting ghosted on text. I think the next episode's about pollution. We have another show that we've been doing online called Stupid Heavy, where this great young comedian interviews other funny people about silly things that they're totally obsessed with and then heavy stuff that they're dealing with. And, the comment sections and the back and forth between the talent and the user base there is really, I think, right now as interactive as we're getting. Although, actually, we were just hired. I can't announce which game it was, but we were just hired to write the jokes for a video game. There's these characters in it that say funny things. And so that's another element of what we're doing, too.
Gotcha. Well, me being in my mid 40s, I grew up obviously on the National Lampoon series from all the amazing, incredibly funny movies, and obviously that's the type of generation that remembers them. This younger generation, they may have seen a couple of these movies, but they haven't been introduced, at least I don't think so, to the full encore of products and movies and television shows and podcasts and things like that. That is something that you are targeting. You're targeting to that younger generation.
Yeah, we do. We do really well. So, the OG audio that we're releasing on Sirius in a couple weeks, I think will speak more towards our generation. I'm a little older than you, but our generation and up. But the Radio Hour had a very young user base. Our YouTube channel, it's funny. Over 45, it's almost entirely male, but under 35, of which is 18 to 35 is really our biggest block of viewers on our YouTube channel. That's like 50-50 male, female. And that's because of the talent we're working with. Kelly Bachman, Elise Morales, who hosts the podcast. And the podcast that we just launched so Elise Morales, who's a 30-year-old Cuban-American comedian, Bert Kreischer. This episode this week is Bobby Lee. It's an amazing episode. Hannah Berner was on last week. Steve-O is on next week. Alyssa Lamperis is on. A lot of really great young comedians. And so, yeah, it's a great question. the people who love John Belushi, Gilda Radner, Bill Murray, that's going to be an older crowd, and that content will be on Sirius, and it'll actually be everywhere later this fall. But for the audiences that love younger comedians, we're working with all of our talent now is, you know, young, smart, very current, because what National Lampoon isn't OG comedy, right? It's today's comedy. It's current comedy. It's lampooning what's happening today. And so we want to work with today's talent. That said, when Christmas Vacation is on from basically every day from Halloween till the end of the year, you'd be surprised the age range it attracts.
Mm-hmm.
Like I tracked it this past fall, and there were tens of millions of posts about Christmas Vacation with people dressing up, like cosplaying in the outfits of the characters from the movie, and it was all generations. It was Generation Z, Millennials, Generation X, Boomers, the whole mishpacha, as my mom would say.
Well, God bless you for doing what you're doing, and honestly, for having the guts and the comedic chops to go after the woke generation. I think it's great. I think that they need to be pushed and shoved a little bit and understand that, hey, you know what? You can't live in a glass, castle here. Your feelings are going to get hurt. There's going to be some funny things. We're allowed to laugh at different things. That's what makes us all human. And I think it's fantastic. I wish you nothing but the best of luck. I hope that National Lampoons takes off like a rocket. I really,
Thanks so
truly
much.
do.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. The funniest stuff is always laughing at ourselves, and that's what we really want to do. So thanks so much.
Absolutely, absolutely. The guest is Evan Shapiro. Evan, where can people go to find National Lampoon's information? Obviously, it's a nationally recognized brand, and people can just look it up on Google.
Yeah,
but
our
in particular,
website,
where to go?
yeah, our website is nationallampoon.com. All we're up to is there. Our Twitter is National Lampoon, and our Instagram is National Lampoon. So if you go to any one of those places, you'll find what we're up to pretty much on a daily basis.
Well, thank you very much. I truly appreciate it. It's been a blast having the opportunity to speak with you. And again, I wish you nothing but the best of luck.
Thanks,
Okay?
Josh.
All right. Take care now.
Take it easy.